We will now call the February 13, 2018 regular school board meeting to order here in St. Lucie County. We are welcoming each and every one of you that's here this evening. Thank you for your attendance, and thank you for your care for our children here in St. Lucie County Public Schools. We will begin with the Pledge of Allegiance, and then directly after that, we will have our Kids at Hope Treasure Hunters Pledge. And then we will ask the board members if you would please go down directly after the pledge so that we can enjoy the Southport Middle School students, Raul Alvarez and Ariana Sanchez will be performing for us today. These two young people did the play. They will play for us Rondino, which is a snare drum solo that they both received a superior on this month at the Florida's Bandmasters Association District 13 Solo and Ensemble Festival. So at this time, let's recite the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please recite the Kids at Hope Treasure Hunters Pledge with us. As an adult and treasure hunter, we are committed to search for all the talent, skills, and intelligence that exist in all children and youth. I believe all children are capable of success, no exceptions. Board members, would you please grace downstairs?
Thank you so much for having us.
We will now open up our public hearing, and we will have the proposed adoption of the job descriptions as rules. I'd like to receive, if there is any comments right now from our public on the proposed adoption of jobs descriptions as rules. Any comments? Seeing that there are none, we will close this public hearing. Following the comments of no comments from the public, board members, do you have any questions or any comments on the public hearing? Okay, Superintendent Jent, may we have your recommendations?
Recommend the board approve the job descriptions as rules as presented.
Calling for a vote? So moved by Ms. Hawley, second by Ms. Hensley. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motions carries 5-0. We will now open up our second adoption, proposed adoption, and this one is of the K through 12 science instructional materials. We would like to receive any comments at this time from the public, if there are any. Seeing none, we will close this public hearing. Board members, any questions, any comments on these proposed items? Okay, seeing none, Superintendent, may we have your recommendation?
Recommend the board approve the proposed adoption of K-12 science instructional materials as presented.
Once again, I call for a vote.
So moved.
So moved by Ms. Hilson,
Second.
second by Mr. Ingersoll. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. We will now go right into our special order of business. We have a pretty big night tonight in this area, and we will turn this part of the board meeting over into Superintendent Jent's hands.
Thank you, Madam Chair. What I want to do here in a moment, we're going to recognize our high school principals, but I just want to do a brief presentation on our graduation rate. You all should have it in the packet in front of you. And if not, you're welcome to come back down here and check it out again. But anyway, this is fantastic news for our school district and for our schools and for our students. And as you can see, this is the federal graduation rate. This is the rate that goes for all of our, in all the states in the country. So when people talk about graduation rates, you're comparing apples to apples. And this past graduating class of 16-17, we went from 13th to 5th in the state of Florida in our graduation rate. And 2 years ago, we were 45th. So our schools have made remarkable gains over the last 2 years in that area. What's on the screen right now shows the top 10 districts in the state of Florida, and the first column is the percentage of the graduation rate. Our rate is 90.1%. The second column is the number, the actual number, where we have 2,761 students. And the third column stands for free and reduced lunch, and that's the indicator regarding economics and those students that would qualify. And if we look at this, and you look at Nassau County, number 2, and St. John's and Suwannee, you can see that we were just right there with them in the 90% range. And if you look at number 1, Gilchrist, that's a very, very small county that has, and they did a fantastic job with 156 students in their seniors. So it's a smaller district, so when we compare ourselves to medium-sized districts and the larger districts, you can see the outstanding job that our schools have performed. Right here shows, this is the Treasure Coast graduation rate, and we are the gold medal winners here. We are number 1 on the Treasure Coast with our graduation rate, and we can see that over the 3-year period, we've increased almost 15% in that area.
Can we pause at this moment to put our hands together for this accomplishment, please?
Thank you. And what we show here is all of the high schools on the Treasure Coast. And you can see the first column indicates the graduation rate with LPA, Lincoln Park Academy, at 99.6, which is really 100%, and an increase of 3% from the previous year, and Treasure Coast at 97, and Central at 95.5, Centennial at 93.2, and PSL and Westwood High School both at 90%. And what's really important is if you look at the last column and you can see the gain, the percentage gain, Port St. Lucie High School at 8%, Westwood at 7%, Centennial at 4%, Central at 3%, Treasure Coast at almost 6%, and Lincoln Park, as I mentioned, at 3%. And again, leading the entire area, the three-county area, with our high schools when we break that down. And then these are the trends by school. I won't go into the details. The folks can see that from their seats, and you can see it on the screen. But just to look, when we compare the district to the state average, the state graduation rate is 82.3. We're at the 90% range, and shows a 3-year increase of almost 15% compared to 4.4 for the state. And then you can see each school, Westwood with an incredible 26, Central at 15, PSL again 19%, Centennial 11, Treasure Coast 15. If I miss somebody, then the principal's going to get mad. So just a remarkable job by all of the schools there. And when we just take our 6 comprehensive high schools, no special programs, just 6 comprehensive high schools, you can see that the rate is at 94.4%. This is what I'm particularly proud of is when we break this data down to smaller groups and we look at our ESC student population, you can see the gains that have been made in this area. We compare ourselves to the, as a district, we're at almost 84%, which would represent over 3 years a 27% increase. When we compare ourselves to the state's at 66, we're at 84, and you can see the gains that are there. And you can see each high school has made incredible gains with our exceptional education students, so much so that we're ranked 3rd in the state at 84%, and 9% increase. Increase over the previous year, and almost 18% higher than the state. We break this down to our African American students, and you can again see a great story of each one of our high schools making remarkable gains over the last couple of years. The district at 88.1 compared to 75% at the state level, an increase of almost 20% over 3 years compared to 7% at the state. That puts us at 3rd in the state of Florida, 13% higher than the state average. For white students, the same story. You can see the numbers that are up there. Again, the big major gains by school. As a district, 91.5%, a state compared to the state at 86, and a 13% increase over the last couple of years. And then and that puts us 6th in the state with that rate 5% higher than the state average. And then with our Hispanic students, again, the same story, almost 90%, 12% gain over the last couple of years compared to 81% at the state with a 5% gain. So that would place our Hispanic student graduation rate at 7th in the state, 8% higher than the state average. And we'll break it down just a tad more. 6% increase for our African American students, almost 3% for white students, 2% for our Hispanic students. And then just to get a little further in the weeds, if we break this down by race and gender, you can see the remarkable gains that have been made by each category that's listed on the screen. And I'll bring your attention really to the bottom with the African American males, an increase of almost 25% over the last 3 years. So it shows that for every group that's there, you can see a double-digit gain, which is no accident. In a moment, we're going to be very proud to bring up the teams from the schools that are really responsible for this achievement for our school district. So I'm going to turn this over to Ms. Patrick, or am I doing this? So board members, come on down. Please. So while they're coming down, let's bring Mr. Santabria, would you bring your team on down here, and let's get a nice picture and congratulate Lincoln Park Academy with a rate. We're just going to say it's at 100%. That's how you do your taxes. You average it up higher. Next, we'll bring down Treasure Coast High School, Susan Seal and her team, 97%. The Cobras, Todd Smith and his team, 95%, 0.5. Okay, the Eagles, Centennial High School. Popwell. Okay, the Jaguars, Mr. Ocampo, 90%. Westwood Panthers, 90%. Joe Lazo. Is John here? John Lynch here? We're going to bring Joe Lazo and John Lynch because John was there. Is John here? Come on, John. All righty, Mosaic Digital Academy, Ms. Simba, the virtual world. They're the virtual owls. All right, Del Cassins, Miss Hardin. Is she here? Come on up. In the back. He's no longer there, but he's responsible for their achievements. So Performance Space, Prep Academy, and Keith Davis. And if Mr. Jamieson's here, he can come up and get a free shot. that everything? Okay. So anyway, I just want to really, I don't like talking when you feel like a bus driver, your back's to the crowd, but it's a remarkable accomplishment for the district, and it really starts with a strong foundation. Our entire district has this to celebrate. And this should be our new normal. We should be in the 90% range. Every school should be in the 90% range. We should, as a district, should be there. That's putting a little pressure on everyone tonight. And, but it should be the new normal for our district, and I can't tell the folks that are here, particularly the individual teams, because they know how much time and effort they do and how they become data geeks. Some of them willingly, some of them we've pulled along, but really the bottom line is it benefits our kids, and they have a diploma. They need that just to start out, but that it doesn't end right there. We want them to go to the world of work with industry certifications or something, or to go on to college. So we're preparing both. But it's a remarkable accomplishment for our district. It can't be done without the efforts of the school. I want to congratulate, too, the district staff and our IT crowd and Dr. Prince and everyone who's been involved in this. It's truly a collaborative team effort. So we'll celebrate. We got good news. I think we're going to be out in about 2 weeks coming to the schools, looking at how we're doing right now. And people say, how do you do it? And it's very simple. It's about monitoring. It's about making sure no students fall through the cracks and taking paying individual attention to the kids to make sure that we encourage them to graduate. So again, fantastic. I'm so proud that you came out tonight. I know it's been a long, long day for many of you, so you can take next Monday off. But again, thank you for coming out. All right, thank you.
Madam Chair, board members, Superintendent Gent, St. Lucie Public Schools is so very proud of its outstanding leadership, and so is the Florida Department of Education. We know this because Ms. Tracy Wilkie, principal of Lawnwood Elementary School, was selected as the state of Florida's, one of 3 state of Florida's finalists for Florida Principal of the Year. With more than 20 years of experience in St. Lucie Public Schools, Tracy Wilkie now serves as Lawnwood Elementary School's principal. Prior to joining the faculty at Lawnwood Elementary, Wilkie was a principal at Samuel Gaines Academy, where she contributed to the significant improvement of that school's grade. Under her leadership, Lawnwood Elementary has also seen significant improvements. Ms. Wilkie is exemplary in every facet of her educational leadership, and she is definitely passionate about providing the very best learning environment for her students. She's committed to supporting her staff, and she is very engaged in participating in the community that she serves. We are so very, very proud of her, and we would like for her to come forward this evening so we can once again celebrate the fact that she has represented us as a finalist for a Florida Principal of the Year. And as we continue to take a look at our leadership, the Florida Music Education Association Awards Committee presented Miss Susan Seal, the principal of Treasure Coast High School, with the 2018 Secondary Administrator of the Year Award earlier this year at their Professional Development Conference. This prestigious award is given to a school administrator who is not a professional music educator, but who displays ardent support of a school's music program. It recognizes leadership, excellence in encouragement and promotion of a music education in Florida's schools. The recipient must have demonstrated significant effort in support of music education, resulting in the awareness or enhancement of the school's music program and allocation of resources. Under Seal's leadership, the music program at Treasure Coast High School has become an important part of the school's culture, and she is definitely most deserving of this award. Thank you for the value you have placed on the arts in education. And in the spirit of volunteerism, as a community, it is so very important that our students and our staff give back to the community. And each and every year, this next category, our gold and silver schools, grows and grows and grows. Here to tell you a little bit about that is Ms. Martha Underwood, our volunteer coordinator. Ms. Martha?
Good evening, Madam Chair, school board members, and Superintendent Gent. Thank you for having me here this evening to celebrate our schools receiving the Golden School Award and the Silver School Award. Each time I stand before you presenting our schools these awards, I think of the many children that are receiving confidence in themselves and that they feel successful. Our goal is to see each child each day succeed to their highest standards. Volunteers are love in motion, and my goal for our volunteer program is to make sure I can provide help for all of our children to reach their highest potential. My heart is full of grace and love for all of our children in St. Lucie County Public Schools. At this time, would the Golden School Award recipients please come forward? Bring your certificates for a picture, please. Turn your eyes to the screen and you will see the recipients of the Golden School Award. Hey, honey, how are you? Carrie has yours, I think. Okay, with the Silver School Award recipients, you may stay down. We will do the Silver School Awards next. If you have the silver certificate, please stay down for a picture with school board members and Superintendent Gent. Turn your eyes to the screen in front of you and you will see the recipients of the Silver School Award. Thank you very much.
At this time, I would invite Dr. Kevin Perry to the podium. We have a very special proclamation, and he will share some information with us.
Madam Chair, school board members, Superintendent Gent, the imprint of Americans of African descent is deeply embedded in the American narrative. African American History Month is the brainchild of Dr. Carter G. Woodson, a noted scholar from Harvard University who originally started Negro History Week in 1926. Every U.S. president since 1976 has designated February as Black History Month. Each year, beginning on February 1, an entire month of events are planned nationwide, honoring the history and contributions of African Americans. In addition, Florida Statute 1003.42, amended in 2002, is a law that mandates the teaching of African and African American history throughout the infusion model. Here to present the African American History Month proclamation is Dee Dee Campbell, Coordinator of Professional Development.
Proclamation for the National African American History Month, February 2018. Whereas the St. Lucie County School Board takes pride in joining Americans throughout the country and various parts of the world in recognizing February 2018 as the National African American History Month, and whereas African American History Month celebrates the contributions that African Americans have made to American history, and whereas National African American History Month has its origin in 1915 and was initiated in 1926 by Dr. Carter G. Woodson as Black History Week, as it coincided with the birthdays of Abraham Lincoln and Frederick Douglass, two key figures in the history of African Americans. And whereas in 1976, this commemoration of Black history in the United States was expanded to Black History Month, and in 1986, President Reagan proclaimed that the foremost purpose of Black History Month is to make all Americans aware of the struggle for freedom and equal opportunity, and deepens our understanding of our nation's history. And whereas in 1994 and 2002, the Florida legislature passed legislation to ensure that African and African American history content is taught in schools. St. Lucie Public Schools continues to take the necessary steps towards the infusion of African and African American history curriculum as part of the content taught and studied in pre-K through grades 12. And whereas this year's theme, African Americans in Times of War, commemorates the centennial of the end of the First World War in 1918, and explores the complex meanings and implications of this international struggle and its aftermath. The First World War was initially termed by many as the Great War, the war to end all wars, and the war to make the world safe for democracy. Those very concepts provide a broad, useful framework for focusing on the roles of African Americans in every American war, from the Revolutionary War era to that of present, the war against terrorism. The theme suggests that the contemporary conditions, past and present, give cause for critical pause in our studies and deliberations to consider the specific and unique issues faced by African Americans in times of war. These diverse stories reveal war's impact not only to men and women in uniform, but on the larger African American community. And whereas it is appropriate to call upon our schools and the community to observe this month with programs, activities, and ceremonies, and for our school board to recognize and promote these observances district-wide. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the school board of St. Lucie County do hereby proclaim February 2018 as African American History Month.
Madam Chair, we respectfully request that you call for the adoption of the African American History Month proclamation.
A caring adult can have a significant impact on a student's life. And Representative Larry Lee has a very special project that he is focused on, and he's working with some students at Alapata Flats. And at this time, I would invite a very special group of young men to come forward and meet our board members. Gentlemen, would you please come forward? Representative Lee has been mentoring these fine young gentlemen, and he has been making tremendous strides with them. They have set goals, and we have two ladies that are going to share some information about this wonderful program. And I would invite at this time Ms. Tangi Jennings and Olivia Watkins to come forward and share some very significant points of pride that we have. But first, in today's news, we know there's breaking news. And I think that we have breaking news because there are some Blazers that have just arrived. Am I correct? Turn your attention, because these fine young gentlemen were fitted for some Blazers. Look at this. Aren't they handsome? And they have just arrived. That is our breaking news. Ladies, take it away.
Good evening to Madam Chair and board members. It is with great pride that we stand here today to represent our very own Representative Larry Lee Jr. And about 10 years ago, he established a foundation, and it is called the Lighthouse Foundation. I currently serve as the chair of that foundation. Under the foundation, there have been several major projects that have come up under that. And the biggest project that we've done is called Restoring the Village. The concept behind Restoring the Village was to try to get the village back the way it was years ago. It takes a village to raise a child. The purpose of the foundation mainly was to aid senior citizens and youth. And we are proud to say that Mr. Lee has continued to do that. Last year, we were very, very pleased to aid Westwood High School with the project that they had. And now this year, we've chosen Alapata Flats. So on behalf of Representative Larry Lee Jr., we now present to you the newest project here at Alapata Flats, Journey to Success.
Good evening. Because Mr. Lee is in Tallahassee for legislative duties, he's asked me to speak on his behalf. At a request of school board member Dr. Donna Mills, Representative Lee was invited to speak to a group of boys at Alapata Flats K-8 that were having behavior and academic problems. Mr. Lee challenged them, the initial group, to improve their grades and behavior. And if they did that, he would reward them with a pizza party and a trip to Tallahassee. With the help of local businessmen, Scott Van Duzer of Big Apple Pizza and Michael Abrams of Men Rags, they provided jackets, slacks, and polo shirts with their emblem on the polo shirts and jackets. Representative Lee also plans to follow these young men throughout high school while encouraging them to strive to become successful, whether in college, trade school, or in the military. Once that happens in their lives, they are to reach back and help other kids become successful in life also. He hopes this inspires them to pay it forward.
I want to say that I know all of you young men now, right? You all know me. And I want to give thanks for that, for your principal. For your principal first, Ms. Rodriguez, and then also for your dean, because it was your dean that brought us to the school. And she's the one that oversees the program, the Speakers Bureau, as well as your group. And so all we want you to do is be the best that you can be in life. Are you willing to do that, young people? Yes, and I want to say this, I believe these guys actually did the commitment. They were supposed to stay out of trouble and what, C average, 2.0 to average, and minimal discipline issues. We had I think about 17 of them we went to see. These are the ones that were successful. So would you put your hands together for these gentlemen? And did you mention they're going to Tallahassee? They're going to Tallahassee on the 21st to meet the governor, to meet those legislators. And I was going to go, but you changed the date on me, so I can't go now. But you go for me, okay? All right, thank you.
And speaking of doing wonderful things, we have Tom Jones of the Education Foundation to share with us some wonderful news on what the Education Foundation has been doing with teacher grants for our teachers in our classrooms.
Thank you, Carrie. Madam Chair, board members, Mr. Superintendent, the Teacher Grant Program is the largest program of the year for the Education Foundation. And this year we processed over 100 applications. We awarded 40 teacher grants totaling $72,000. I also wanted to thank State Representative Larry Lee because a good portion of our funding comes from the State Matching Grant Program. This year we concentrated our grants in 5 areas. The first is literacy. We helped our students in buying books for classrooms and media centers. We funded second grade reading mentors. We also purchased a number of iPads for our classrooms. We also supported our students to help the struggling students as well as helping with graduation rates. And in this manner, we funded a new program called Don't Be That Kid in School to help with student behavior. And we funded multiple first generation type programs, which helps our students looking to go to college. And we also supported a number of music and art programs to inspire our students to stay in school. We also supported STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math, and we did that by supporting the science program, and we filled many science labs with new supplies. Finally, we also supported CTE, and we funded industry certification tests. We actually purchased the tests for students to help them graduate work ready. And also we supported our district staff, and Mr. Gent would like this, in working after hours to help with their skill sets. So I just wanted to also recognize corporate sponsors who help us in this effort. PNC Bank, Kaiser University, AT&T, and Seacoast Bank. And now I'd like to present to you a really big check physically. And the check's for $72,000.
That was some special presentation tonight from the beginning all the way to the end. Absolutely incredible what the things that are going on in St. Lucie County schools, public schools. I am so proud to be a small part of such a great effort here. Thank you so much to each and every one of you that have put so much time in, and of course we have to thank our teachers. Many of them are not here tonight, the majority of them, but we know that they are the frontline ones in the classrooms. And so we do thank each and every one of you for the part that you play in the lives of young people and children. At this time, we're going to ask our CTA report to be presented to us.
Good evening. How are you? Board members, Mr. Superintendent, there was a lot of really great news today, but I do want to bring some other news to you that I know you're aware of, but I think it's important that everyone knows that the union and the school district are working together. The legislature, unfortunately, we do have Larry Lee up there as an advocate, but we don't have too many other advocates from our area. The House passed HB 7055, which purported to be an anti-bullying bill, and really what it does is it does nothing to deal with the underlying causes of bullying, so don't be fooled by that. What it does is just shift money into public money into corporate interests and private schools with no rhyme or reason to it. It also seeks to silence the voices of working people in Florida who have the constitutional right to collectively bargain. And I'm talking about public school educators, the people that I represent. And ironically, February 20th is the 50th anniversary of the 1968 Florida teacher walkout. And if you don't know anything about that, it's a huge part of history. It actually, thousands of teachers from around Florida, before there was social media, met at the Citrus Bowl. And they were looking for fair salaries and better working conditions. And, you know, that continues today, unfortunately. But it ultimately led to collective bargaining, not only for public employees here in Florida, but all across the country. And it ended up with the right to bargain being in the Constitution. So under the auspices of all these things happening today, the other piece of it is the Constitution Revision Commission. And if you are not already planning to go on February 19th to the King Center, which is off Wickham Road in Melbourne, from 1 to 7, to be a member of the public, to be a concerned Floridian, to speak against the different proposals that are out there that are looking in every way, shape, and form to shift public money to private entities with no rules, then you probably ought to consider doing that. It's a perfect thing to do on President's Day as we think about what the intention of public schools was, which was to actually educate the public, not fill someone's pocket. It's a totally different situation. So we as the union look forward to working with you. We've got a couple more weeks of the legislative session. We know that 7055 is going to be in the Senate, and while we hope that they will have cooler and clearer heads, we know that we don't have friends on the Treasure Coast in the Senate. So it would be helpful if we could speak with the same voice about the detriment that that bill will have for this community, for the people that you employ, and for all of us in this community. And then I just wanted to mention one other thing that I know that you're aware of, but I'll mention it publicly here for the first time, that I will be leaving the district as president of the Teachers Union effective the 30th of March, and we'll be moving on to another position with the Florida Education Association. And I just want you to know that I'm not going anywhere. I'm still going to be in this community. My son still goes to school here, so you certainly will continue to hear from me. But I do appreciate the time that I've been able to work with you and our collaborative relationship.
Thank you so much, Ms. Rodriguez. And I guess we can't say we're going to miss you since you're not going nowhere. But we certainly will miss you in the capacity that you've been in the position you've been in. Thank you for your service to the union and to the teachers of St. Lucie County. We will now call for a CWA report. Okay, seeing that there is none, we're going to go straight to our consent agenda. We want to call for a motion to adopt the consent agenda as presented. Who was that?
Ms. Hensley moved.
Hensley. The sun is in my eyes here, but.
I'll second.
Okay, second by Ms. Hilson. Okay. Superintendent, your recommendations, please.
Recommend approval of the consent agenda as submitted.
Call for a motion. So moved, Ms. Hawley. Second?
Second.
By Mr. Ingersoll. Any board member have a comment or on the consent item without pulling it, or do you have a separate vote on the agenda? Okay, seeing that there are none, I'm going to call for the vote now on the consent agenda.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Mr. Ingersoll? And Ms. Hilson. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Informational reports, and this is for informational only, will be item 19-1. No board action is required on this item. It is the charter school audit fiscal year 2016-17. Imagine a new campus. Superintendent, we would like our reports from you now.
Thank you. I'll be very brief. I know that Tom left already, but I wanted to thank him for a wonderful night, the Night of the Stars, and everyone that came out, and give special thanks to Dr. Perry and to Jane, who was was up there in the front at the night and kept it moving along, and it was a good night. All of the board was there, and it was a fantastic, fantastic evening. Vicki already left, but just for the general public, that our board has been very, very active in Tallahassee and with the legislatures and through the School Board Association, as well as the Superintendent's Association, opposing the many of the revisions, all of them, all the revisions regarding education. And once we see what gets on the ballot, that will be on the ballot in November. Whatever makes it there, it takes a 60% vote of the general public, and we will have a Just Say No campaign that we'll organize and work through as well. I want to also just say that we're having a teacher career fair a week from Saturday on the 24th at St. Lucie West K-8 from 10 to 2. We had our science STEM fair last week, and tomorrow, Thursday night, will be the award ceremony at Fort Pierce Central, and then we'll have the History Day and Project Citizen. Project Citizen is tomorrow, and then History Day will be next Tuesday, the 20th. And that's it from me tonight.
Mr. Ingersoll, thank you, Superintendent.
No report.
Ms. Hawley?
Yes, just to say, this really is a busy, busy time of year for all of us, but to say thank you for all you do every day for our students, for each other. It really is a great community. And also to mention that three of us, Carol and Donna and I, were in Tallahassee last week, had various meetings with our legislators, some really positive, some not so positive, but overall, it's important that we go and advocate, because we are your voice, along with our union partners, to be there and to do what is right and what is good for our students and for our communities. So look forward to our work group getting together as we further that cause, and I think several of us do plan to go Monday to the Constitution Revision Committee meeting. It's very close. It's a great opportunity. Even if you have some students to take along to see that work in progress, it would be very informational, I think, for that as well. So thanks to all of you. You do a phenomenal job, and it is a point of a lot of pride walking around Tallahassee last week to be able to say, St. Lucie County, we made huge, huge strides for our kids. And a lot of them were envious. It was nice to be in that position for a change. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Hawley. Ms. Hilson?
As usual, I'm going to have to say some things that I find unacceptable with our elected officials in Tallahassee, how they are able to rationalize almost anything. I don't understand that, the ideology that exists right now. And one thing, I want to say this. My mother's turning 89 years old, and we had a conversation the other day, and she reminded me what the United States was like before we had unions. How is it that we slipped into this ideology, all unions are bad, and let's privatize everything because the government can't take care of itself, and we just have to send it out and privatize it and pay twice as much and make corporations rich. And she reminded me that children were working 7 and 8 years old before unions, before labor laws. Women were working 14, 15-hour days. I mean, it's as though we've lost our moral compass, not just in the state of Florida, but in the United States. And I, for one, will continue to fight for what's right for our children, for our community. I mean, this has just gone so far to the point that I will say one good piece of information from talking to an aide of one of the representatives. She said, get everybody to email and fax and write, because it's only going to be by popular vote and by just harassing our legislators that anything will happen. And I mean, I'm an optimist, but at this point, I'm not too optimistic when I see a bill that basically is just to give money to corporations and private schools, and we have blurred the line between religion and business. I don't know where that comes from. So right now, there's just a lot of confusion. And if we don't take a stand as educators, we know the foundation of democracy is education. And if we don't, who will? Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hilson. Ms. Hensley.
While they were in Tallahassee becoming quite frustrated, I had the privilege of going to a few meetings in our county. The Early Learning Coalition of St. Lucie County is watching proviso language very closely. It can make a significant difference for the forward movement of school readiness in pre-K, so we're watching that pretty closely. We do know where the Office of Early Learning stands. However, we also know that they do not have the privilege of advocating for what they believe in, and they also have to be very cautious of the fact they have very few champions in the legislature. Our Children's Services Council had preliminary budget discussion last week. I would encourage you all to go to the Children's Services Council website and look at the annual report. What's happening with our students in St. Lucie County is pretty significant, and that is one key indicator that you can look at. That's what's going on with the community outside of the schools. The Treasure Coast Council of Local Governments, once again, has taken a big stand on local control. We are making sure that we have advocates from all 4 counties are working together on this issue and following all the bills and letting us know when the bills are up there, and we're getting action alerts constantly. The local control issue started as a discussion with the League of Cities, but it actually impacts every governmental entity, including Children's Services Council, fire boards, every governmental entity. And the Transportation Planning Organization had a significant discussion regarding safety of particular intersections in our community, as well as having concern about the budget going forward as it is based on federal dollars. And the federal dollars, right now, the discussion is a significant local match, of which our community at this time does not have the opportunity to be able to have that discussion. Also, the Cultural and Arts Council has been reformed at the county government. Ms. Whitaker is a key figure in that. Schools were heavily mentioned last week as being very essential, and as you know, this district has made a significant commitment to the arts, and they have a great appreciation for that. So we will be heavily infused in that organization. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hensley. The young men that were up here earlier, as a result of the Speaker's Bureau and having Representative Larry Lee present to them, and out of that developed what's going on now in their lives. I want to also thank our own administrators who are so ready when they're called upon to go out into our school district and open up their life story to our young people, and they certainly do have them captivated. Dr. Sanchez, thank you so much for your speaking at Centennial this past month, and also Dr. Prince. Both of you are always on call and ready at any moment, and we thank you for your service. Thank the board as well, because I believe all of us, Ms. Hensley will be speaking in the month of March, and Ms. Hawley, I will be asking you as well to go somewhere, and once the 2 of you are completed, it means the whole board has participated in this, and I appreciate the support that you're giving toward that. Also, of course, our principals that have opened up your doors, and so many others. Thank you, Mr. Rodriguez, for being always ready as well to speak for us. Winter graduation we just had. And we had that on the 18th, and that was at Lincoln Park Academy. We had our 5th year students graduate, and that was very encouraging to see young people that did not give up, but they continued their education and was able to graduate recently. And also we had the Black History College Fair, the 2nd annual, with Dr. Perry is the one that I believe put that together for us on the 2nd time around. And I had the opportunity to go, and I'm telling each board member, you want the opportunity to go and witness what I witnessed just recently. All of the sororities and fraternities of St. Lucie County are represented there, and the kids are just really encouraged about furthering their education and getting those grants provided to them. So it is a sight to see and an event to witness, and that's anyone that you would like to see it. It's something special. Port St. Lucie play, got the opportunity to go there. Coats of Many Colors, I hope I'm saying it right, the play. Professional, Broadway. I mean, just incredible. The amount of money it must have taken to have those costumes and have that those stage prompts, and just absolutely Broadway. And so we thank Patrick, which is the drama teacher, and of course our Port St. Lucie family, high school family, that is so supportive of those plays. And the house is packed. I've never seen so many retired people in one place. So they wait for these shows to come, and so it's just that's another one that's an opportunity to see. Young Floridian is going to have their awards ceremony on the 21st of February at 6 p.m. at the McAlpin Center. And wanted to talk just a little bit about my trip to Tallahassee. It was some trip, Ms. Rodriguez, for sure. We got to speak to many, many senators, went door to door, went office to office, did the same thing with the state representatives all over the state. And my highlight of the trip for myself was that I had the opportunity to be on the floor, not actually on the floor, in the gallows, which is up like a podium, stage up top, and see all of the state representatives talking about the bills and passing bills. And this 7055 is absolutely ridiculous what has been done with this bill, because there are at least 25 to 30 different bills within this one bill. So we hear people talk about a little bit about the bullying, a little bit about this, a little bit about that, but it's really unconstitutional. And it's something that they're doing. It's kind of like a first-time thing. What are you doing here with all these bills within one bill? So we know that that is somebody being sneaky. And there's a lot, even though there is some things in the bill that is okay, there's more things in the bill that would hurt all of public school, from the board members all the way down to the custodial people, I mean, and all the children. So we've got to go out there and look up that bill, find out what's contained in that, and then call our legislators, call our senators, and get our parents. We have to really bombard Tallahassee right now, because this bill can get passed, and if it is, we're all in trouble. So I encourage you to go and look up and look at all that it encompasses within that bill. And then let's get our St. Lucie County families, parents, everyone involved in calling our local legislators, but also calling our senators and all the other ones. And, you know, they gave us a standing ovation when I was there. The floor, the representatives all stood up. Representative Larry Lee talked about all of our gains and all of our successes, and he recognized myself and my husband, who was in the gallows. When we stood up, the entire floor, every single representative stood up and gave us a standing ovation. But when it all came down to it and it was time to vote, they voted for, the majority voted for Senate bill, House bill rather, and 7055. And it really, basically, it was all the Republicans who voted for this bill. And the Democrats, we have a lot of legislators that are Democrats, they fought against it. They stood up. They were powerful when they talked about why we do not vote for this bill. And you would have thought that if you were sitting there, you would have said, oh, wow, they did an excellent job. Hardly nobody should vote for it. But when it came down to it, it was all about party. And they went on and voted the bill in. So it's very serious. We have to stand up and do something about it. Otherwise, we're going to suffer and hurt really bad over this one. At this time, I forgot to ask if our attorney had any comments or any reports. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Howell. So at this time, we will now close up our all heads clear. We're going to close our board meeting up. Have a wonderful evening.